You know what separates the people who live extraordinary lives from those who merely exist? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's how they see failure. Most people run from it. They hide, they shrink, they give it a label, defeat. But I'm here to tell you something that can completely rewrite the way you live your life. Failure isn't defeat. It's your greatest teacher, your most powerful ally, your doorway to transformation. Every single person you've ever admired has tasted failure, not once, not twice, but again and again. The difference is they didn't stop there. They didn't make failure their identity. They didn't say, I failed, so I'm done. They said, I failed, so I learned. They turned pain into purpose, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and setbacks into setups for something far greater. When you fall flat on your face, and you will, because that's life, you have two choices. You can either let that fall define you, or you can let it refine you. Failure refines your character. It tests your hunger. It shows you what you're made of. It strips away your excuses and exposes your truth. The question isn't whether you'll fail. It's what you'll do when you do. Think back to a moment when life hit you hard, when something didn't go your way. Maybe it was a dream that crumbled, a relationship that fell apart, a business that crashed, or a goal that slipped right through your fingers. You felt crushed, didn't you? You felt like it was over. But here's what most people never realize in that moment. That pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was life showing you what needs to grow inside you before you're ready for what's next. You see, success doesn't come to the person who avoids failure. It comes to the person who uses it. Because every time you fail, you gain something far more valuable than a win. You gain wisdom. You gain grit. You gain perspective. You start to understand what really works and, more importantly, what doesn't. That's how mastery is built. Not through perfection, but through persistence. People talk about success as if it's a straight line, as if you start here and end there with a smooth ride in between. No, success is a messy, wild, unpredictable journey. It's failure after failure after failure, followed by one breakthrough that changes everything. And that one breakthrough, it doesn't come in spite of those failures. It comes because of them. So if you're in the middle of a storm right now, if you feel like nothing is working, if you feel like every step forward ends in another fall, good. You're in the right place. You're in the forge. You're being shaped into someone stronger, someone wiser, someone unstoppable. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because the moment you shift that question, your entire life changes. Failure isn't the end, it's feedback. It's a signal, a sign that says, hey, this isn't working yet. Adjust, adapt, try again. The most dangerous word in that sentence is yet. Because that word carries power. It means you're not done, you're not defeated. You're in progress. Let me remind you of something. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of failure that you haven't met yet. A version that's bolder, wiser, and more resilient. But you can't meet that version if you quit when things get hard. You can't meet that version if you let temporary defeat convince you it's permanent. You've got to keep showing up, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts, because that's where growth lives. And growth is the point of all of this. We're not here just to win. We're here to evolve. Failure forces evolution. It breaks you open in ways comfort never could. It shows you that your limits aren't real. They're just stories you've told yourself. And when you face failure head on, when you use it instead of fearing it, you discover something extraordinary. You are far stronger, far more capable, and far more powerful than you ever imagined. So the next time you fail, and you will smile, don't see it as a dead end. See it as a doorway. Step through it, because failure isn't defeat unless you stop. Keep moving, keep learning, keep fighting. Because the truth is, the only real failure is never trying at all. Failure is not the end. It's feedback guiding your next move. When most people experience failure, their first instinct is to stop, retreat, and label themselves as incapable. They internalize the setback as a reflection of who they are rather than what they did. But the truth is, failure is not a verdict. It's a mirror showing you what needs to be adjusted. It's not a signal to quit. It's an invitation to grow. Every failed attempt carries with it valuable information about what didn't work. And if you're open enough to see it, it also reveals what could work next time. Life doesn't punish you when things fall apart. It educates you. Each obstacle, each disappointment is a form of feedback designed to steer you closer to mastery. When something goes wrong, most people ask, why did this happen to me? But the real power comes when you ask, what is this trying to teach me? That single shift in mindset transforms the meaning of failure. Suddenly, failure stops being an enemy and becomes a coach. It's no longer something that defeats you, but something that develops you. When you interpret failure as feedback, you stop fearing it because you realize it's part of your evolution. You begin to understand that the process of becoming your best self will involve falling missing and recalibrating countless times. You stop seeing those moments as proof of inadequacy and start seeing them as part of your refinement process. Every failure holds clues. It tells you something about your strategy, your mindset, your preparation, or your level of commitment. Maybe it reveals that your plan wasn't strong enough, or that your timing was off, or that you gave only half your effort when it required all of it. If you pay attention, failure gives you insights that no success could ever provide. Success feels good, but it rarely teaches you. Failure, however, sharpens your instincts, toughens your resolve, and builds the kind of inner resilience that can't be learned through winning alone. The difference between people who rise and people who remain stuck lies in how they interpret those clues. Those who see failure as feedback become students of their own life, and students never stop improving. Think about a child learning to walk. The child stumbles, falls, and gets back up again and again. Not once does the child label those falls as failure. They don't sit there and think, maybe walking isn't for me. They simply get up and try again, learning each time what their balance requires. That's what we lose as adults, the willingness to fail forward. We grow up fearing judgment, fearing embarrassment, fearing that each fall means something about our worth. But if we return to that childlike mindset, where every mistake is just information, not condemnation, we'd move forward faster and with far less fear. Failure doesn't break you unless you decide that it defines you. When you see it as feedback, it becomes fuel. There's something incredibly liberating about realizing that you don't have to get it perfect on the first try. You can experiment, adjust, and evolve. That's how progress actually happens. The people who achieve extraordinary results aren't those who never fail. They're those who learn faster from their failures. They move from one setback to the next with their eyes open, gathering wisdom each time. They don't get emotionally paralyzed by what went wrong. They analyze it, adapt, and execute again. That cycle of feedback, adaptation, and renewed action is how greatness is built. Every failed attempt is a stepping stone, not a wall, but that only happens when you have the courage to confront your failures honestly. Most people don't want to look at them. They either pretend they didn't fail or they drown in self-blame. Neither response helps. The only productive response is curiosity. What went wrong? Why? What can I do differently? That curiosity keeps you growing. It transforms frustration into clarity and fear into direction. It gives you the ability to adjust intelligently instead of reacting emotionally. Every time you respond to failure this way, you raise your awareness and improve your effectiveness. You get stronger not by avoiding failure, but by learning from it deeply. When you fail, it's easy to feel like you're back at square one, but you're not. You're on square one with more experience. That difference matters because that experience, the understanding of what didn't work, is the foundation for your next step. You're never actually starting over. You're starting again, this time with more insight. Failure is cumulative feedback, and the more you gather it, the more prepared you become to succeed at a higher level. The pain of it is temporary, but the wisdom it leaves behind lasts forever. You're not being pushed down by failure. You're being pushed forward through it. Every great achievement in history has been built on the back of feedback disguised as failure. The light bulb, the airplane, the computer, the medicine we rely on, all of it was created through a series of mistakes that revealed what didn't work. Each failed attempt narrowed the path toward what eventually did. That's why people who understand this principle never fear failing. They know it's simply part of finding the right formula. They understand that the universe doesn't reward those who get it right immediately, but those who refuse to stop refining until they do. Feedback is how you calibrate your way to excellence. There will be moments when failure feels personal, when it stings so deeply that your confidence starts to shake. That's when you need to remind yourself that the sting is only temporary and the lesson is permanent. The most successful people are not those who fail less, they're those who recover faster. They've trained themselves to extract the lesson quickly and move on. They don't get stuck in self-pity because they understand that emotions are temporary, but learning lasts. Each time you bounce back faster, you strengthen your mental muscle, you build proof that failure can't control you unless you give it power. So when you fall, instead of saying, I failed, try saying, I just found one way that didn't work. That reframe keeps you in motion. It shifts your energy from despair to determination. The feedback from failure is a compass, not a condemnation. It points you toward a new direction, a smarter move, a better strategy. Every great breakthrough you're chasing will demand a few broken attempts along the way. You can either interpret those moments as evidence that you're not good enough or proof that you're getting closer. The way you interpret it determines how far you'll go. Failure is not the end. It's the information you need to find your next beginning. It's life's most honest teacher, always showing you the truth about your effort, your focus, and your alignment. The sooner you listen to what it's trying to tell you, the faster you'll evolve. Every piece of feedback moves you one step closer to mastery, and that's what the journey is all about. Every setback is preparation for your next breakthrough. When something doesn't go your way, it's easy to believe the universe is against you, that life is trying to stop you, that maybe you're just not meant to have what you want. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if that setback was never meant to destroy you, but to strengthen the very parts of you that need to be ready for the success that's coming? Every obstacle, every disappointment, every failure is building you for something greater. Life doesn't hand breakthroughs to those who haven't been tested, because untested people don't know how to handle the weight of success. Every time you're delayed, denied, or disappointed, it's not punishment. It's preparation. Think about how gold is refined. It doesn't become pure in comfort. It becomes pure through fire. The heat reveals the impurities, the parts that can't stay if the gold is going to shine at its best. The same is true for you. Every setback you face is the fire that reveals your weaknesses, your doubts, your insecurities, your blind spots. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's raw, but it's necessary. You can't carry those things into your breakthrough. They'd sabotage it. The process of refinement always comes before the reward. The universe tests your patience, your faith, your persistence to see if you're ready to handle what you've been asking for. When you experience a setback, the first thing that tends to break is your certainty. You start to question everything, your path, your purpose, your capability. But that questioning is part of the preparation too. It's forcing you to look deeper, to reconnect with your why, to rebuild your commitment on stronger foundations. You start realizing that your goals can't just be driven by convenience or excitement. They have to be anchored in conviction. Because when the excitement fades, conviction is the only thing that keeps you moving forward. Setbacks aren't meant to make you quit. They're designed to strip away the superficial reasons you started, leaving only what truly matters. Sometimes the door you wanted to open stays shut, not because you're not capable, but because what's behind it isn't aligned with who you're becoming. A lot of people chase what they think they want, only to discover that the delay they resented was actually protection. The relationship that ended, the job that didn't work out, the deal that fell through, all those things you cried over might have been the very things that would have limited you later. Life's detours often save you from destinations that were too small for your potential. What feels like a setback can actually be redirection towards something better. But you only see that truth when you look back. In the moment, all you can do is trust that the preparation has purpose. Preparation is never glamorous. It's repetition. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's failing quietly, adjusting privately, and building strength in silence. That's the part most people want to skip. They want the breakthrough without the buildup. But if you skip the preparation, you won't have the capacity to sustain what you achieve. You can't handle level 10 results with level 1 discipline. You can't expect big rewards with small habits. The universe won't give you what you want. It'll give you what you're ready for. So if you haven't received what you've been working toward yet, it's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're still being equipped. Every setback carries a hidden lesson that you'll need later. Sometimes you can't see it until you're faced with a new challenge, and suddenly you realize that what you learned in your past failure is exactly what's helping you now. That's how preparation works. It plants seeds that bloom later, often when you least expect it. The pain you're feeling right now might become the wisdom that saves you in your next season. The resilience you're building now might be what helps you stay calm when others panic. The self-control you're practicing now might be what sustains you when things finally take off. Every setback is developing invisible skills you'll rely on when your breakthrough arrives. There's a rhythm to life's timing. You can't rush maturity. You can't demand results before you've developed readiness. The seasons of struggle are not wasted seasons. They're where the roots grow deeper. The stronger your roots, the more weight you can bear later. Without deep roots, even the smallest storm can tear you apart. But with them, you can endure anything. That's why it's so important to not resent the slow seasons. They are sacred. They're where strength is built, humility is learned, and wisdom is cultivated. When the breakthrough finally comes, you'll realize you needed every moment of that struggle to hold what you're about to receive. Sometimes setbacks aren't about external failure. They're about internal resistance. You might be ready on the outside, but not aligned on the inside. You might be asking for success, but still holding beliefs that sabotage it. Maybe you fear judgment, fear loss, or fear responsibility. Setbacks expose those fears. They bring them to the surface so you can deal with them before success amplifies them. That's why preparation often feels like pressure. It's squeezing out everything that doesn't belong. You think you're being punished, but in reality, you're being purified. You're being molded into the kind of person who can walk through the doors you've been praying would open. There's a reason every great story has a moment of failure before the breakthrough. It's not just for drama. It's because that's how life actually works. The hero doesn't start as the hero. They become one through trials. The pain, the rejections, the detours, those are the chapters where strength is built. The audience only sees the victory scene, but the real story happens in the shadows, in the quiet moments of doubt, where the hero decides to keep going anyway. Every time you decide to stand back up after a setback, you're writing your own transformation story. You're proving to yourself that you're becoming someone. Unstoppable breakthroughs don't come to those who wait passively. They come to those who grow through the waiting. The waiting season is not idle time. It's development time. It's where character catches up to vision. You might not realize it, but life is preparing the circumstances and aligning opportunities behind the scenes. The timing isn't off. It's intentional. If your breakthrough came too early, it would crush you. You wouldn't be ready to sustain it emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. But once you've grown into the person who can handle it, the door will open effortlessly, and it'll make sense why it took so long. So when you're facing a setback, remember that you're being prepared for something bigger than your current struggle. It's not happening to stop you. It's happening to stretch you. The strength, wisdom, and patience you build here will be the exact qualities you'll need for the next stage of your journey. You're being refined, reshaped, and readied. The breakthrough you've been waiting for isn't being withheld. It's being prepared in perfect timing. Just like you are, growth comes from persistence, not perfection. Most people waste years of their lives waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves before they act. They convince themselves that if they could just eliminate all mistakes, all risk, all uncertainty, then they could finally move forward. But that moment never comes because perfection is an illusion. The people who create real change in their lives and in the world don't wait to be perfect. They move through the imperfections with persistence. They understand that consistency beats brilliance when brilliance refuses to show up. It's not the person who does everything right who wins. It's the person who refuses to quit even when everything goes wrong. Perfection is a trap that disguises itself as high standards. It whispers that you're not ready yet, that you need more time, more skill, more certainty before you begin. But perfection isn't progress. It's paralysis. It keeps you stuck in preparation mode, afraid to make a move because you might get it wrong. Persistence, on the other hand, embraces the mess. It says, I may not have it all figured out, but I'll take the next step anyway. That mindset is what creates growth because real learning happens through doing, not through waiting. You don't find clarity and confidence before you take action. You find them by taking action repeatedly, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're unsure. Every master started as a beginner who refused to stop. They didn't rise to greatness because they were flawless. They rose because they were relentless. They kept showing up on the days it didn't make sense, when progress felt invisible, when motivation was gone. Persistence isn't about excitement. It's about endurance. It's the decision to move forward when the results aren't immediate, when no one is cheering you on, when all you have left is belief. The ones who succeed aren't necessarily the most talented or the most gifted. They're the ones who stay in the game long enough to outlast everyone who gave up. Growth never happens in straight lines. It's messy, unpredictable, filled with moments where you question everything. You'll take one step forward and 3 steps back. You'll fail at things you thought you had mastered. You'll doubt yourself. But if you keep showing up, you'll look back one day and realize that every setback was part of the path. Persistence gives you the strength to keep walking even when the path disappears under your feet. It's the ability to stay committed to the process when you can't yet see the outcome. That kind of discipline rewires your entire being because it teaches you how to keep going without needing proof that it's working. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. Everyone wants to grow fast, earn fast, transform fast. But nothing meaningful grows overnight. A seed doesn't become a tree by wishing. It becomes a tree by enduring seasons. The rain, the heat, the storms, the cold, they're all part of the process. The same is true for you. Growth takes time. And persistence is what carries you through that time. The people who give up too soon never see how close they were to blooming. Most people stop because they can't tolerate the uncertainty between where they are and where they want to be. Persistence bridges that gap. It's the quiet commitment to keep showing up, to keep watering the seed. Even when nothing seems to be sprouting, perfection demands control, but growth requires surrender. When you're chasing perfection, you want everything to go according to plan. You want certainty. You want guarantees. But persistence teaches you to stay steady even when life doesn't go your way. It teaches you resilience. It trains your mind to adapt, to learn, to keep adjusting until things start aligning. That adaptability is the real secret to success. The ability to stay flexible and forward, moving no matter what happens, gives you power that perfection could never offer. Because perfection breaks under pressure, but persistence bends, then bounces back stronger. There's something deeply human about persistence. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it's often lonely. It's those quiet early mornings, those late nights when no one sees your effort, those hundreds of small decisions to keep pushing even when progress is invisible. It's showing up to train when you're tired, writing when you don't feel inspired, building when no one's applauding. It's all the invisible effort behind visible success. Growth lives in those moments because persistence turns effort into excellence. Every repetition, every attempt, every day you choose to continue, you're compounding progress. It's not about dramatic breakthroughs. It's about consistent steps that eventually create unstoppable momentum. When you chase perfection, you fear mistakes. When you practice persistence, you learn from them. Mistakes become information, not humiliation. Every error becomes feedback that guides you closer to mastery. The people who grow the most are those who give themselves permission to fail repeatedly. They understand that progress isn't the absence of failure. It's the accumulation of lessons learned from it. Perfectionists hide from failure. Persistent people seek it out because they know it's the fastest way to improve. Each time you fail and try again, your confidence expands, your skill deepens, your perspective sharpens. That's how growth actually happens. Through repetition, correction, and resilience, persistence also builds trust with yourself. When you make promises to yourself and keep them, even when it's hard, you begin to believe in your own word. That self-trust becomes your foundation. You no longer depend on motivation because you know discipline will carry you through. You stop seeking validation because you've proven to yourself that you can endure. The longer you persist, the stronger that inner trust becomes. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable because you're no longer negotiating with your fears or doubts. You're leading them. People who chase perfection often live in cycles of burnout and frustration because they set impossible standards that no one can meet. But people who focus on persistence live in progress. They understand that small, consistent effort compounds into extraordinary results. They don't get discouraged when things move slowly because they know momentum takes time. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be present. They're more focused on direction than speed, more focused on growth than appearance. And because of that, they evolve faster than those who keep waiting for the perfect plan. Persistence doesn't just build results, it builds character. It shapes who you become in the process. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen your capacity to handle pressure. Every time you continue through uncertainty, you grow mentally tougher. Growth isn't about how much you can achieve, it's about how much you can endure while staying true to your purpose. The strength you develop through persistence becomes a permanent part of you. You can lose opportunities, resources, or even people, but you can't lose the inner strength that persistence creates. Growth is never about being flawless. It's about being fearless enough to keep going through the flaws. The people who reach greatness aren't perfect. They're persistent. They've failed more times than others have tried. They've faced rejection, self-doubt, criticism, and fear, yet they kept moving forward. That's the true measure of growth. Not in how smoothly the journey goes, but in how consistently you keep walking it. Perfection may look impressive for a moment, but persistence lasts a lifetime. Growth belongs to those who refuse to stop showing up, no matter how imperfect the path becomes. Pain is not punishment, it's the forge that builds strength. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, running from anything that feels uncomfortable, difficult, or uncertain. They build their lives around ease and safety, never realizing that in doing so, they also build walls around their potential. Pain isn't something meant to destroy you, it's meant to shape you. It's not the universe being cruel, it's the universe refining you. Every moment of struggle, every season of heartbreak, every challenge that shakes your world is actually an invitation to rise to a higher level of awareness, courage, and power. Growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from resistance. The pressure that pain creates isn't punishment, It's the process through which strength is born. When you lift a heavy weight, your muscles tear slightly. It hurts. But that pain is the exact signal that growth is happening. The body responds by rebuilding those fibers stronger, thicker, more resilient than before. The same principle applies to life. Emotional, mental, and spiritual pain work the same way. Every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment stretches you beyond what you thought you could handle, and in that stretch, something inside you grows. Pain introduces you to yourself in ways comfort never could. It reveals your depth, your patience, your adaptability. It shows you who you really are when everything else is stripped away. Pain is a teacher that doesn't speak softly. It teaches through experience, through the rawness of life. It doesn't come with a manual, but it comes with meaning if you're willing to look for it. When something hurts deeply, it's usually because it's touching something significant inside you, an attachment, an expectation, an illusion. Pain exposes those things. It forces you to confront what you've been avoiding, to release what no longer serves you, to rebuild what's been neglected. Most people resist this part. They numb, distract, and suppress their pain. But the pain you avoid doesn't disappear. It waits, it grows. And one day, it will demand to be felt. The only way out is through, and the only way through is to face it with courage. Pain is proof that you're alive, that you're evolving, that something within you is shifting. It strips away the superficial layers of who you thought you were and introduces you to who you truly are. When everything falls apart, when you have no control, you discover your true power. Not the power to control everything around you, but the power to control how you respond. That's where strength is born. You realize you can endure more than you ever imagined. You realize that pain doesn't break you, it reveals you. It's the forge where resilience, humility, and wisdom are created. Without it, there would be no growth, no expansion, no transformation. Every person who has achieved greatness has walked through pain. The difference is that they didn't interpret it as a sign to stop. They saw it as part of the journey. They used it as fuel instead of fear. They understood that pain is temporary, but the strength it builds lasts forever. You can't develop endurance without struggle. You can't build patience without waiting. You can't build courage without fear. Pain gives you the raw material needed for every virtue you want to possess. It's the uncomfortable, unavoidable bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. You can't evolve without crossing it. Sometimes pain doesn't make sense in the moment. You can't see the purpose while you're in it. You just know it hurts and you want it to stop. But later, when you look back, you begin to understand why it had to happen. That loss, that failure, that moment of collapse, it taught you something nothing else could have. It made you kinder, more compassionate, more grounded. It stripped away arrogance and replaced it with empathy. It destroyed illusion and replaced it with truth. You can read all the books, attend all the seminars, listen to all the advice, but there are lessons only pain can teach. It teaches you the value of gratitude, the importance of presence, and the power of letting go. Pain also teaches you perspective. It changes how you see life. Before pain, you take things for granted. You assume happiness is a right. After pain, you realize happiness is a gift. You begin to appreciate small moments, quiet mornings, honest conversations. You stop chasing constant pleasure and start seeking meaning. Pain reorients your priorities. It shows you what truly matters and what doesn't. It simplifies your focus, humbles your ego, and sharpens your vision. It may feel cruel while it's happening, but it's only removing what's false so that what's real can take root. There's another kind of pain, the pain of growth. It's the H that comes from stretching beyond your limits, the discomfort that comes when you demand more of yourself than you ever have before. This kind of pain isn't destructive, it's constructive. It's the fatigue after pushing through fear, the sting after taking a risk, the discomfort after leaving your comfort zone. It's the body of your old self breaking down so your new self can emerge. You can't grow without this kind of pain. If you avoid it, you also avoid progress. Most people never reach their potential because they choose comfort over growth, but comfort doesn't strengthen you. It softens you. Pain is honest. It doesn't lie to you. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't care about your excuses. It simply reveals what's true. It shows you whether your foundation is strong or fragile. It exposes the cracks in your discipline, the weaknesses in your mindset, the fears that you hide behind. It doesn't do this to shame you, but to prepare you. Because when life challenges you at a higher level, those cracks will widen if they're not repaired. Pain gives you the awareness to fix what's broken before it breaks you. It's feedback from life itself, guiding you to strengthen the places you've ignored. There's also beauty in pain if you learn to see it differently. It's a sign that you care, that you tried, that you invested yourself in something meaningful. The pain of loss means you loved deeply. The pain of failure means you dared greatly. The pain of discipline means you chose long-term growth over short-term comfort. These are not signs of weakness. They're signs of courage. Only those who risk feeling pain ever experience deep fulfillment. Pain is the evidence of your engagement with life, and those who engage the most fully are the ones who grow the most profoundly. Eventually, you begin to see that pain isn't separate from growth. It is growth in disguise. It's the friction that sharpens your character. It's the fire that forges your strength. It's the pressure that polishes your purpose. When you stop running from it and start working with it, everything changes. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this shaping in me? That's when pain becomes powerful. That's when you realize that what once felt like punishment was actually preparation. It was building the resilience, the depth, and the strength required for the next version of your life. Pain doesn't mean life is against you. It means life is building you. The only true defeat is quitting before the lesson is learned. Most people think defeat comes when they lose, when things fall apart, when their plans fail, or when life doesn't go the way they hoped. But losing isn't the same as being defeated. Defeat only happens when you decide the journey is over before you've extracted the wisdom from the struggle. Every setback, every disappointment, every failure has a lesson embedded in it, and the moment you quit, you walk away from that lesson. You stop short of the insight that could have changed everything. Quitting isn't just giving up on the goal. It's giving up on the growth that was meant to come from the process. Life will always test your persistence, not to break you, but to reveal how badly you really want what you say you want. The truth is progress isn't linear. The path to mastery is filled with failures, delays, and detours. You'll take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes fall flat on your face, and still have to find the strength to get up and go again. That's how growth works. It demands resilience. It demands patience. But too many people quit right before the breakthrough. They stop when it gets hard, when it feels hopeless, when the results don't show fast enough. They mistake temporary frustration for final failure. What they don't see is that struggle is part of the preparation, and the lessons buried inside those struggles are what give success its meaning. You can't gain the wisdom of victory without walking through the challenge of defeat. When you quit, you rob yourself of clarity. You rob yourself of the understanding that comes from staying in the fight just a little longer. The most painful moments often come right before things start to turn. You might not see progress on the surface, but growth is happening beneath it. Just like a seed takes time to break through the soil, your efforts take time to manifest into results. Quitting cuts that process short. It's like stopping a movie halfway through. You'll never know how the story ends, and you'll always wonder what could have happened if you just stayed in it long enough to see it through. Perseverance isn't glamorous, but it's where transformation happens. Every challenge you face is meant to teach you something about yourself, your strength, your limits, your fears, your values. The moment you walk away before the lesson is learned, you repeat the same mistake later in a different form. Life has a way of circling back and reintroducing the same challenges until you finally face them and understand what they were trying to teach you. Quitting only delays the inevitable. It might give you temporary relief, but it doesn't give you freedom. Freedom comes from learning the lesson, mastering it, and moving beyond it. The lesson you avoid becomes the chain that holds you back from your next level. Defeat isn't the result of failure. It's the decision to stop evolving. The strongest people aren't those who never fall. They're the ones who refuse to stay down. They understand that every time they rise again, they rise wiser. They know that every setback carries a seed of strength. Each time you refuse to quit, you're rewiring your identity. You're telling yourself, I can endure, I can adapt, I can grow. That belief compounds over time and becomes unshakable confidence. You stop seeing failure as a reflection of who you are and start seeing it as a reminder of who you're becoming. The process transforms you from the inside out. There's a moment in every journey when you feel like nothing is working. You've given your best, and it still feels like you're not moving forward. That's when most people give up, not realizing that progress doesn't always announce itself. Growth happens quietly under the surface in ways you can't see until much later. The muscle builds while you rest after the pain. The lessons sink in after the loss. The breakthrough reveals itself after the persistence. Quitting in that moment is like walking away from a treasure you've already paid for but haven't yet uncovered. If you could see how close you were, you'd never stop. The difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't luck. It's endurance. When you keep going after failure, you turn defeat into data. You learn what doesn't work. You gain perspective. You grow in patience, adaptability, and humility. Those qualities become part of your foundation, and that foundation is what sustains you later when you finally succeed. People who quit never build that depth. They might find temporary comfort, but they lack resilience. And resilience is what separates success that lasts from success that fades. The road to mastery is paved with mistakes, but each one strengthens the structure you're building. You can only gain that strength by staying in motion, by refusing to let the pain of failure define your ending. The lesson hidden inside every failure is the key to your next step. Maybe it's teaching you to be more disciplined, more focused, more humble, or more creative. Maybe it's revealing weaknesses in your approach or blind spots in your mindset. The moment you choose to learn instead of quit, you turn failure into fuel. You start to see the beauty in the process. You realize that you don't have to win every battle to win the war. Each experience, whether painful or triumphant, contributes to the person you're becoming. The lesson is never wasted unless you walk away before understanding it. That's why quitting isn't just stopping. It's surrendering your growth, even when you feel defeated. You're not done unless you choose to be. The human spirit is designed to adapt, recover, and rebuild. You've survived things you once thought you couldn't, and you'll survive this too. The only time you truly fail is when you refuse to rise again. Every time you stand back up, you reclaim your power. You prove to yourself that circumstances don't control you. You control your choices. That mindset transforms defeat into determination. You start to see obstacles as training grounds, not tombstones. The pain becomes a catalyst for reinvention instead of a reason to stop. Persistence doesn't mean you won't feel tired, frustrated, or doubtful. It means you'll keep going in spite of those feelings. It's easy to stay committed when things are working. It's real strength to stay committed when they're not. The lessons you learn in those moments of struggle become the wisdom that guides every future success. They teach you patience when you want speed, perspective when you want control, humility when you want recognition. Quitting cuts you off from that growth, from that evolution. It keeps you stuck at the same level, repeating the same mistakes, never realizing that one more try could have changed everything. The only true defeat is walking away before you've taken everything the moment had to give you. Every loss carries insight. Every failure carries instruction. Every pain carries transformation. The moment you decide to stay, to endure, to extract the lesson instead of escaping the discomfort, you win. Not because everything goes your way, but because you grow in a way that nothing can take from you. Real strength isn't built in the moments when you win. It's built in the moments when you refuse to quit